There's no way to talk about Metroid Prime Federation Force without addressing the fan backlash. The Metroid series has been dormant ever since the release of the much-maligned Other M in 2010. That's 6 years without a mainline Metroid title. So for some, to see the franchise return with a spin-off focusing on multiplayer action with faceless Federation forces while bearing the beloved Prime moniker was too much. This was not the return they wanted, and I admit that while I didn't outright hate its existence, I did feel underwhelmed by it. Yet, after playing the game for quite some time, I sincerely believe that it's well worth yours. Federation Force picks up shortly after the conclusion of Metroid Prime 3. Although the destruction of Phazon dealt a massive blow to the space pirates, the Federation is also reeling. In an effort to finally rid the galaxy of their menace, they initiate a campaign designed to bolster their troops, leading to the development of mechs twice their size. They begin testing these machines in the Bermuda system, across 3 planets, where they eventually learn of a new space pirate plot. Working off of intel provided by Samus, the Federation Force steps up to deal with the pirates' plans to wipe out the Federation. The story is pretty simple overall, mainly dealing with the Federation slowly learning about the space pirates' plan while stopping them along the way. There's a nice build-up to the story as things do become more interesting, but there are no characters to latch onto. Each mission boils down to the faceless commander breaking down what you'll be doing and why it's important, then afterward detailing how it's helped and congratulating you for your work. It gets the job done, but it's not the most involving, and while Samus is often mentioned and you'll receive reports about how she's helped, it does make you feel like you're part of a side story in one of her games. But that's kind of the point. This is a Metroid spin-off game meant to flesh out what the Federation really does. Gone are the giant areas that can be explored for new upgrades that allow you to proceed further. Instead, each mission takes place in lone areas that don't interconnect. One might allow you to explore and make your way through what could be considered a standard level, while another puts you in a small space that has to be defended from waves of space pirates. If there's one thing that Federation Force truly nails, it's the mission variety. No 2 missions are ever alike, and even if they're similar in some ways, the general feel of them is very different. And many times they'll build off one another. For example, the second mission features balls that must be guided into holes, and while there are some hazards to deal with, it's generally a pretty easygoing pace. Yet later in the game, the team is tasked with fending off a space pirate vehicle. The only way to pierce its armor is with similar balls. At first, it's simple to guide them to the catapults, but soon space pirates invade, and shots from the ship take out sections of your skiff, making it necessary to carefully guide the balls around the newly formed holes. It's an excellent mission that really rewards teamwork while building off something that was introduced much earlier in the game. At the same time, it integrates the other elements that we're gradually building to this moment. Federation Force is filled with missions like these, making them fun, frenetic, and often quite challenging. Many of the missions require tight communication with your teammates as you cover each other's blind spots and keep tabs on your item management. It's a co-op game where the cooperation naturally builds from the situations you're in rather than forcing specific roles. But there are issues that can arise from this. The only way to communicate while playing online is through stock phrases assigned to the D-pad. These can range from encouraging, to asking for help, to saying to group up. Unfortunately, they just don't seem sufficient enough in my experience. Whenever I played online, I made sure to be in voice chat with the people I played with, and the communication seemed integral to the experience. We would shout out when we found something, what progress we were making in the mission, whether we needed healed, or if we discovered enemy weak points. It made for a fun and engaging experience, but it was accessed through a tool outside the game. The phrases feel lacking in comparison. Now the missions could certainly be done, especially if the players have experienced them before, but going in blind would make a challenging game even harder. Otherwise, the online is rock solid. It's not region locked, and despite playing with someone an ocean away, there was rarely any issues with the connection. Only twice in the many hours that I've played did a player drop due to internet issues. But the other 2 of us were able to continue playing, just 1 player short, while the one that dropped switched to a single player version of that mission. Online can be played with random people or those from your friends list, but with one caveat. If you or someone else has not unlocked that mission, it cannot be played together. Oftentimes I had to replay previous missions in order to catch a person up to where I was. Now granted, the missions are often unlocked in chunks, but it still made it difficult to meet up at times. However, this is done because there is a structure to the game. The story builds off previous missions, the difficulty ramps up, and reaching certain points increases a player's inventory, allowing them to take more sub-weapons. Each mission is designed for that point, and bringing a player who's not ready could make it harder. But that doesn't make it any less disappointing. Of course, local co-op is available as well, though only if the other players also have a copy of Federation Force. 4 players are never required, though they certainly help. It is possible to get through the game in single player. A special mod is available to help players have an easier time, though it's not always necessary if you're good enough. In addition, drones can be brought along that provide small supplemental fire to your shots, though they never felt like they made that much of a difference. Once you have at least 3 players, the drones are no longer available. The game does slightly scale its difficulty based on the number of players. This doesn't necessarily make it a cakewalk for single player, but Federation Force is naturally more manageable with more players. Just having 2 can feel incredibly overwhelming at times, so having at least 3 seems to be the ideal. And while I still had fun playing on my own, joining with other players to knock out a tough mission was always more satisfying in the end. The structure of the game works well. Beyond the missions themselves though, each player can outfit their mech before taking on the next challenge. The first way this is done is through the use of mods. Mods can be discovered in each mission and are usually the reward for exploration or going off the beaten path. Collecting a mod puts it in a pool for players to obtain at the end of the mission. In single player, you simply receive all the mods you've found, but in multiplayer everyone must choose one at a time based on who got the highest score in that mission, providing a slight competitive element to the game. The mods have a variety of uses. They can increase your defense, offense, special items, inventory, or even add bonus effects to the various offensive options. A maximum of 3 can be equipped at a time, leading to a lot of potential strategy depending on the mission. Oftentimes, I designated myself the healer and used mods that would increase their effectiveness and heal me as I healed my teammates, and there are many more combinations beyond that simple setup. Players also have a pool of sub-weapons and items to choose from for each mission. These range from standard missiles and super missiles to healing canisters, a Samus decoy, and a slow beam among others. Each of them can be incredibly helpful depending on the situation, but it's rare that all of them are available at once. Oftentimes only a set few are selectable, and each one can only be stacked so many times from a limited pool. So while you may be able to load yourself out with a massive amount of missiles in single player, in multiplayer you have to decide whether the missiles should be spread amongst everyone or if each person should focus on a single role. The sub-weapons also tie into the point system in each level. Taking out enemies with missiles and charge shots or using items effectively earn bonus points. These points decide who gets first pick of the found mods, but also add up to a team score. Completing unique bonus objectives or finishing the mission under a certain time can add to your score and are often required to receive 3 medals. It can be a fun extra challenge and often encourage me to replay levels in order to do better. Unfortunately, after a certain point, the medals don't provide much of a reward. Once 19 are collected, all of the mod slots available will be unlocked. After that, they seem to only unlock different mech paint jobs, which is something, but oftentimes not worth the hassle on their own. However, I often found myself drawn to do better and be quicker in missions I already completed. The game compelled me to want to keep playing. Outside of the main campaign is Blast Ball, a multiplayer game that has 3 players on each team trying to shoot a massive ball into the opposing side's goal 3 times. It can be fun in short bursts and does provide a break from the usual gameplay, but I didn't find Blast Ball all that engrossing. And if you've played the demo that was released before Federation Force, you've experienced the entire thing. Blast Ball isn't really a draw of the game. While the gameplay of Federation Force can be incredibly fun, the graphics don't hold up as well. The art style is simplistic and a little bland at times, though there are moments when the design and architecture do stand out. When I was playing, it did feel like I was playing a Metroid game visually. It may not always look appealing, but it was never cluttered. There was never a moment when I couldn't distinguish my teammates from the space pirates or natural enemies, and with action sometimes getting extremely hectic, that should be commended. But the 3DS is obviously capable of much more. The music also has the general feel of a Metroid game, though none of it stood out to me as memorable. There were moments where it added to the tension or pumped me up during a fight, but as soon as it was over, I forgot it. The sound design, though, is quite good. Everything sounds as it should in the Metroid universe, and the effects pop. Listening to my gun charge for the shot always felt satisfying. It's all good, if unmemorable. Metroid Prime Federation Force should not be ignored or derided. It may not be the Metroid game fans wanted, but as a spin-off, it is a great game. I had a lot of fun playing both on my own and as part of a team, and I'm not even close to tired of it yet. The developers at Next Level Games pulled off a different kind of game in the Metroid universe that still feels like it fits. And despite the issues that I do have with it, I like it a lot. If you're interested at all in a 3DS shooter with impeccable mission variety that you can enjoy with your friends, then I feel Federation Force is well worth your time. Thank you for watching, and of course make sure to subscribe to Game Explained for more on Metroid and other things gaming.